Metropolis of New York on a December day where later tonight Dr. David Jeremiah will unveil his lifelong work, his 40 years plus work in not translating, but giving commentary to the scriptures. And it should be a phenomenal evening in Manhattan. I'm going to be there. Maybe some of you have traveled to see Dr. Jeremiah, as he's been inviting people for the last year or so. But tonight's the night. Brooklyn Tab Singers, Carrie, Joby. It's going to be a great time at Madison Square Garden. So I'm looking forward. And if you are an AFA listener that came to New York and you're there, I want you to come by and say hi to me. It'll be easy to find me. We're going to have a place where that's fairly prominent. I think my New York flagship station will have a booth there. So anyway, just for those of you that may be in the area tonight, Dr. David Jeremiah and the unveiling of the Jeremiah Study Bible, a very cool, once-in-a-lifetime event, and looking forward to being there with him to celebrate with that tonight. 7 minutes past the hour. AFA Today is the place. AFR Talk is the network, and we're going to do a little bit of of constitutional education today. Are you ready for this? Now, you remember when we started talking about the problems with the rollout of Obamacare a few weeks ago. The rollout of Obamacare has not gone particularly well for the president, and the website of Obamacare has not worked from the very beginning. And there's been a number of things that they've tried to say that they were going to fix about it and so forth. But basically, Obamacare has not, it's just not worked that well. But we can easily, safely assert that. Which is why the issue came up in a few weeks following when the president came to the American people and just started saying, well, I'm going to put off this part of the law, and I'm going to put off that part of the law, and we're not going to talk about this part of the law, and I won't enforce that part of the law, and I'm just going to... See, this was a law that had been written and passed, and he signed, right? So it is the law. It is the law. He's not above the law. He's not anything different to the law than you and I. He's an American citizen. He's held to the same standard that we are. But suddenly there was this idea that there was some sort of prerogative that he had that was quite different than what you and I have. And the prerogative is he was just going to, with the wave of his scepter, bless certain things and condemn others and stop others and grow others and start others. And there was this idea that there was almost a royal type of prerogative about what he could and couldn't do as it pertains to a law that was built all around this website that doesn't work and a healthcare plan that's even worse. And I kid you not 10 minutes before I'm on the air today, a fellow small business owner here in the New York area stops by the studio. He said, Kev, he said, what do you guys do for health insurance for your family? And I said, well, this is what we're doing. And surprisingly, our plan hasn't been canceled yet, but this is how much we spend. And he kind of sighed a little, as I do every month. And then he said, well, what we're going to have to do with our people is our premiums are doubling. The coverage is half what it was this last year. And he said, I just can't afford it. He said, and it's not that I don't want to give health insurance to my people. I do, but I've only got 20, 25 workers. I'm not obligated to by law. So, I'm looking for a way. And I unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to send them into the exchanges. Friends, this has been played again and again and again and again. And by the way, this is a Christian business owner, a guy that loves the Lord, loves his workers, loves his family, wants everyone to have a good year. But his renewal's coming through in February, and he's not going to be able to afford it. So according to the state that he operates out of, he has fixed costs. The insurance is way above that. The exchanges are available. He's probably going to send them into it, but it's going to be, into the abyss, and he knows that. It's very, very difficult to understand why no one's been held accountable for the fact that this is the biggest open failure of public policy and of any federal program that's ever been rolled out. I mean, there's not another one that comes close to this, as far as I can tell. But all that aside, this idea that the president could just surreptitiously, and I came on the air the day that he made the announcement. Well, we're just going to delay implementation of that. And we're going to, well, that's not how it works, buddy. The law says it starts on this day and goes till this time, and you didn't jive with that, so you're just saying, well, we're just going to do whatever we want. That's not how it works. Not how it works. So on the Hill this week, there have been some constitutional people that have been brought before the members of Congress in a couple of different committees, and they've been asked questions about this idea that a president may just randomly give a timeline or an exemption or something else to someone that or something about a law that they don't particularly like, because we don't live in a monarchy. We live in a representative republic where people vote on things, and the rule of law is the rule of law. It's the highest rule in our land. So Jonathan Turley, who is an outstanding law professor, though he is a social liberal and someone that I disagree with on some of the social policies, I've known about his advocacy for the Constitution for a long time, and he's a Democrat in background. So it's always interesting to hear him talk about something like this, because I am always my ears always perk up just a little bit more than normal. But he was at this hearing on December the 3rd, so 2 days ago. He was before this same hearing, and he was asked about this idea that if members of Congress are saying the president doesn't have the power to delay a law or to interrupt a law or to just surreptitiously, mark the law from whatever he wants it to be, they asked Jonathan Turley, and he's a law professor at George Washington University. They asked him, is it being hysterical? Is it being hysterical to warn the American people as the American people's elected representatives? Is it being hysterical to say something about this publicly, to let the people know that the president's not acting in accordance with his powers of the Constitution? And this was an interchange that I wanted you to hear and see in particular, because I found it particularly enlightening. And this was a congressman from Indiana, I believe, who asks this question. Take a listen.
A limited amount of time, Mr. Turley. Let me ask you this: you had mentioned something along the lines of you were concerned that President Obama is becoming the very danger that the separation of powers was meant to prevent. Mr. Lazarus mentioned earlier that I don't know who exactly he's referring to, but some are hyperventilating about this whole topic. Would you want to comment on both of those things, either in relation to each other or not?
Sure. Mr. Lazarus may be responding to my labored breathing with the flu, but it's not my testimony. The reason I think that we have this disconnect in our view of this clause is that we obviously read the history differently. I view the Constitutional Convention is quite clear. The framers were students of history, particularly James Madison. 150 years before they took a pen, particularly James Madison, 150 years before they took a pen and wrote out this clause, there was a fight with James I about what was called the royal prerogative. It's very similar to what President Obama is claiming, the right of the king to essentially stand above the law, to reform the law to the king's views. Now, I'm not saying that President Obama was a monarch, but that was the issue that gave the impetus to this clause, in my view. The language of the clause did not change very much. Later, people like Benjamin Civiletti dealt with this under a different term, the dispensing power of the president. And Civiletti wrote a very good paper about when the president can refuse to enforce laws. And he basically said that it could only be done where there is an intrusion upon executive power. And by the way, that's what was involved in the Myers case that we talked about, referred to earlier. Or if it was clearly unconstitutional. And that second issue, he established it had to be very, very clear so the president does not exercise dispensing authority. So this is how I would respond. We don't have to hyperventilate to look at a problem of this kind and say that this is not about who the president is today or what he's trying to achieve. What is lacking from the other side is any notion of what the world will look like in a tripartite system if the president can literally ignore any deadline in a major piece of legislation, exclude whole classes of people from enforcement. The question is, what is left in that Newtonian orbit that Madison described? And I would suggest what's left is a very dangerous and unstable system.
All right. Did you get most of that? If you're not a constitutional lawyer or so forth, some of it may be gobbledygook. But let me break it down for you. He basically said that if the president goes about wholesale disregarding portions of law, saying that he's only going to enforce it on certain people, saying that he's going to randomly enforce certain timelines and deadlines and other things, that if he does this through this royal prerogative type of mindset, that what you're essentially left with is a very destabilized republic, a very destabilized system of law. That it becomes almost impossible to hold the executive in check. And this is what people were like on the day that it all came down. Kev, why are you so excited about this? Why are you hyperventilating? Some people said that, I think, on this broadcast. They were like, what's the deal, Kev? Come on, you got to keep your wits together more about this. No, I had reason to be concerned because the president is making the argument that he has dispensing power. That he has the power not established by the Constitution, not established by any law that's on the books, to simply not pay attention to laws, to just simply disregard whole sections of law, even if it's a law that he advocated for and signed into law, and even if it's a particular law that I dislike. So some people would say, well, this would be problematic, wouldn't it? If an executive who is charged, as his branch of government is, with the enforcement of law, chooses on a wholesale level to just say, this group of people don't have to follow the law, and this piece of the law, I'll just randomly let it start when I say it's time. What is distinguishing someone like that from a dictator or a monarch or another unelected ruler of some sort? Our president, by the way, is not an office of headship. It's not an office of ruling. It is an office of serving. He is accountable to us, but that's with the understanding, as it has been in the past, that there was accountability from us to the chief executive. Friends, what I'm talking about today is it's not an insignificant thing. For the exercise of a royal prerogative to take place, that implies that someone believes they have a royal right to dispense with the law, to use the terms that constitutional attorney Jonathan Turley was just explaining. To dismiss pieces of law wholesale might also lead to another problem. We'll get into that when we return. This is AFA Today on AFR Talk. I'm Calvin McCullough.